Welcome to another episode of Just Some Points. Today we will talk about real estate, the real estate on the Google search engine or the search result page. Um, Catherine, why don't you get us going today?
Sure. So I'm going to be talking about the Google My Business listings, which are basically profiles for different businesses. And so when somebody searches your business by name, it's the box that shows up usually on the right-hand side of the search results, and it has all the go-to information. So you can have your hours, photos, the link to your website, your phone number, and then also customer reviews. So you can make these just by going to Google My Business, and you can create your profile. Sometimes Google automatically creates them for businesses if they notice a lot of search traffic. So if they did already create one, you'll be able to claim ownership of that, and then you'll be able to make sure that all of the information is up to date on your profile.
How do you claim ownership? I think can be a little bit involved that process, right?
Yeah, so if you find the listing, there's usually a button that just says verify or claim business. And then if you do that, you can go through the steps of creating an account, and then you'll have to verify it. It's typically through a postcard. So Google will mail you a postcard with a verification code that you then input into your profile, and it verifies you.
Hmm.
So these listings are very important to have, especially if you're a restaurant or a store, or if you have a physical location like a doctor's office, any place that somebody can visit. Because in addition to the Google search results, you'll also show up on the Google Maps page. So people, if they know that they're going to your doctor's office for the afternoon, they'll just be able to type in like your doctor's office name into Google Maps, and it'll take them right to it. And it also just helps making your profile more visible. And also the customers can leave the reviews, and they can also ask questions. So that'll be public. So if somebody asks a question about your business, you can reply to it, and then future customers will be able to see those questions. So if they have similar questions, the answers are right there. And then you just want to make sure that your listing is up to date, so fully optimized. You can add current photos, make sure all of your hours are correct, and your website and your phone number and all of that is up to date.
They very much expanded the functionality of Google My Business the last year, 2 years. And sometimes when people ask me, what do you suggest, what I should do, for marketing, or what can I do that doesn't cost a lot of money in marketing for my business? In my opinion, it's always the first thing I mention. Make sure you have really well set up Google My Business pages, because you can really impact your business on that. And if you set this up well and put some time in, I really think it's a high impact, zero cost activity.
Yes. And you actually just reminded me of a point. They just added different features for COVID. So you can just have like notifications saying like, yes, we require masks in the office. We offer curbside pickup if you're like a restaurant or a store, things like that. So they added those features that you can check off on your listing so that customers can just see it right away.
Right.
That brings up a really good point to, make sure that your Google My Business listing is not like a one and done thing, that it is something that you should be looking at, not every single day, but you should be checking in, making sure that no user like suggested an edit that somehow got approved by Google and changed your phone number and things like that. Like it is something that you should be monitoring on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's a nice opportunity for me to pitch Triage Track, which we are launching with the new SEO Google My Business listing functionality in March, because it can be for, let's say, hospital systems or bigger healthcare providers that have a lot of locations, a lot of doctors at different locations. It is actually quite involved and quite challenging to keep all of those Google My Business listings up to date. Which we address with the Triage Track tool. So thanks a lot, Catherine. Melissa, what do you have?
So today I wanted to talk about organic search results versus paid search results on the individual result pages after a Google search. The best way I found to go through this is actually through a couple of statistics that I found. The first being that 70 to 80% of all searchers ignore paid ads and go right for organic, which I thought was a lot higher than I was expecting it to be. And the second portion of that is ad blockers. Um, we kind of touched on this time and time again, but users are becoming more aware of the data being tracked about them and how it's being used and where it's coming from. So ad blockers are becoming more and more popular. In 2018, there was 142 million searchers using ad blockers. In 2019, there was 615 million.
Oh, wow.
So huge jump in ad blockers year over year. I didn't find a number for 2020 yet, but I'm sure that was probably even higher than 615 million.
Do the ad blockers, I don't know if you use one, I don't use one, but do they function on the browser level?
I believe some of them do, yeah. I know that it's mainly for display advertising and when you're reading articles, and I think they also work for YouTube videos as well. If you have an ad blocker, I don't think you get any video ads in the middle of your videos for YouTube.
Interesting.
So, with those statistics, you kind of start thinking, well, is paid ad really worth it? But the answer is still yes. Paid search results still gain 150% more conversions and more conversions from clicks than organic results do. So there's still a lot of value to paid search ads. You still want to be at the very top of the page. Not to say that organic, basically what I'm getting at is that you have to have a strategy where paid and organic work in tandem with each other. I was also looking into the search results like breakdown in terms of like the top position versus the bottom of the page. The top position receives 30% of clicks. So the top position is always going to be an ad. The top 4 positions, I think, are ads. And then there's organic, and then there's ads at the bottom. So the top position receives 30%. Second, which is again is still an ad, receives 15% of the clicks. Third position, still an ad, receives 10% of clicks.
Wow.
And then you get into the organic, and as you go down the page, it gets less and less and less. All the way at the very bottom, the last entry, sometimes it could be an ad, sometimes it could be an organic result. That only gets 2% of clicks.
Wow.
So
And we analyzed this in the past, and we see this again and again, that, to your point, to have both is very important, because we've seen it with clients that said, we don't want to do digital ads, we only want to focus on SEO. They certainly have an impact on the SEO and the performance, but it is, and then on the other side, you have people, they only invest in ads, but not in SEO. The ones that perform best are we that do both, and they don't just perform best, overall in their marketing results, but also the ads perform better if they have a SEO activity. The SEO performs better when they have an ad activity. So we track conversions and cost of conversion, and we just see a much better performance when you do both.
Exactly. I think, it comes back to the conversation where the only way you're ever going to dominate the search results page, you would have to have your Google My Business listing, which is attributed to organic traffic. You'd have to have rankings organically, and you would have to have paid ads in order to dominate all of the top positions.
That's right. And so that's a nice segue into what I want to talk about. There's a fourth component. If you sell product, then it's your product presentation, product placement in the search engines too. Let's say smaller companies, very often they just have a shop on their website, or even mid-sized companies. But then also many businesses have a shop on Amazon, or they sell through eBay or Shopify or Etsy, you name them. But when you do a search, a product search as a consumer, you still see search results presenting products on Google. And in the past, Google exclusively presented their products, but that changed. You have now the opportunity to actually push your products in your store on the Google search and actually integrate them with Google search. So obviously, if you have your products listed on Google environment, Google Store, then you have a higher likelihood of being natively being presented. I want to go through a couple of those shopping carts basically that companies have. If you're on Amazon, you cannot cross promote. Amazon itself cross promotes products on Google, but you cannot, because you have to own the domain where your products are home in order to influence ads. And if you sell your products on Amazon, you can't do that. However, having said that, if you sell products on eBay, you can. eBay does offer the ability. They have a plugin or a feature that allows you to promote your listings on Google. The same is true for Etsy. If you have a product sold through Etsy, you can actually run Google ad campaigns with your products on Etsy and still being exposed on Google. The same is true for Shopify, where you have that same functionality. So if you really want to get maximum exposure, you do what Catherine said. Make sure that your Google My Business is really set up properly. You do what Melissa said. Do your ads, digital ads, but don't forget the SEO. You get the full, get the full exposure. And then if you sell products on top of that, you really should make sure that your products can be found on Google too. So I hope it was interesting for you. As always, for your feedback. If you're interested in specific topics, let us know. See you soon.